Hey team, how are we doing? It's Baden from Skillest here, doing our first of very many webinars, and we are really lucky to have the Nakhjavani boys here. We've got Shauheen and Brandon, and we are going to run through absolutely everything you need to know about growing your online presence and then building an online business. So boys, how are you? Welcome.
Good, yourself?
Excited? First thing in the morning here, 6 a.m. here in Australia, but 4 o'clock there on the East Coast. So hopefully people all around the world can check in here. We've got people flooding into the webinar, so that's really cool. So what I just want this to be about today, for all of you coaches out there, I want you to be able to walk away with a couple of things here, with a really clear understanding that things have obviously changed, all right, in the current climate that we find ourselves in. And through technology, whether it's Skillest, and it is at the moment, whether it's AR, augmented reality, whatever it is coming into the future here, any student is going to be able to connect with any coach around the world. And we just want to give you the skills that makes your brand and your message compelling enough that people want to interact with you. So that is the most important thing. If there's one thing I want you to take away from today, it's that you need to grow a brand and a presence that is going to be compelling enough that you're going to be a super busy coach going forward, because when the floodgates open and students have access to everyone, you need to have that brand. So let's just get straight into it, boys, because I mean, what you've done has been absolutely incredible. Without actually putting any sort of money numbers behind it, people know that you're doing, or I can probably say that you're doing over 2,000 online lessons a year. Your pricing is raised up towards around $200. So people can do their own maths and understand that you guys have built an unbelievable business teaching through Skillest. And we just want to start straight away with welcoming you, obviously, but how did this all begin? How did the social presence begin and then build into this business?
You want to tell the story?
Yeah, so well, I guess I'll tell the story. My brother and I and his brother-in-law, we just finished playing around a golf like 8 years ago, and we were all sitting by a table like a random lunch spot, and we were saying, how can we start making money online, because no one was doing it at the time, or I guess like people were maybe just starting to do it, and we figured there's a massive hole there. Obviously today it's kind of, starting to get more saturated, but at the time that wasn't the case. So we came up with this plan where he was kind of running another company. So we were not working together when I started my social media stuff. Brandon's been on board for about 2 years now. And at the time, I would just, pass the time, go through pages, post random tips on people's stuff that I thought was interesting. Didn't really have a social presence at the time. And I figured, at first I was posting random stuff, and then I started to realize that certain types of posts would gain much more type of traction than others. And obviously my account over the years has turned into much more of a business, much less personal stuff. I'm sure people out there would see that there's literally nothing about my private life that's on my social media channels. People don't follow me to know what I'm doing in the afternoon. They don't really care. They just kind of want to know what, how to get better at the game of golf. So I made a joke about this last time, but when 2 years into my social media stuff, I kind of posted something, and I posted a poll saying, do you want to see just golf information and instructional content, or like golf and a little bit of my personal life? And the percentage was so overwhelmingly in favor of just my golf stuff. Like no one cared what I was doing with the personal stuff. And so that was kind of like a shock to the arm to some degree. It was kind of like, okay, people don't give a shit what I'm doing. But at the same time, it's cool to see that, you have to treat your account much more like a business. So when I started the social media account, what I started doing was I actually wrote out a document on Microsoft Word of saying things like, when I first start posting, I'm going to do once a week a video of me on camera. I'm going to do 2 times a week a student upgrade of some sort. And if I didn't have the students that were getting better at the time, or let's say I didn't have enough students in my arsenal to post about, I would do posts about tour players and where I thought they can get better and things like that. So I created a huge structured kind of document when I first started, before my platform even got big, of saying I want to follow a guideline of how I'm going to post, how often I'm going to post. And that really just kept me kind of dedicated to it, because it's really easy to kind of get lazy with your social media and be like, it doesn't matter if I don't post today or tomorrow. But it's like, if you really want to develop a business out of it, you kind of cannot be lazy, and you have to really be strict with yourself. And so having that guideline that I had written out, and I can probably go and find it, but like having that guideline just helped me stay structured and kind of not take those days off or get lazy or kind of go off track or anything like that.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly important, and it's something that I see across all the really, really successful coaches who create that amazing presence on social, whether it be Instagram, YouTube, or whatever, is that they have that content plan. They have to have that plan, and they have to stick to it regardless. You almost need to, don't even look at your followers or anything like that. You just go, okay, this is the message and the brand and the content I want to create, and you just keep being consistent with it, which comes to the next question. You, of probably all the coaches on our platform, have a message that resonates so much with your viewers and your followers. So you are the busiest and up there absolutely with the busiest coach on Skillest. Why do you think your brand or your message resonates so much and gets people to get online lessons from you?
I think it's a combination of things. I think that because we work with a lot of professionals, especially nowadays, people naturally will put you on a pedestal because you work with better players. And it's no different. I mean, obviously not at the same scale as a guy like Butch Harmon, but just to say random names, like, you know, when you see these guys on television, you see them working with the best players in the world, you get very excited to want to take a lesson from these people because you see them in such high regard. So I think that over the last like 3 or 4 years, me working a lot more with tour players probably generates a lot more interest from people that don't necessarily know me, just based off that alone, without even saying what I talk about or like what my information is. And then I think a huge part of it, to be honest, is that my information is obviously very scientific. I mean, I don't post, I mean, we're going to get into that with him too, but like, I don't post content on the internet that is very opinion based. I don't post content on the internet that is very flashy without much information or meat on it. Like a lot of the stuff I do is obviously very technical, but it always has a clear cut message of saying like, there's a reason why I'm working on these things. It's not just saying, oh, I'm changing this guy's inside takeaway because it's inside, but it means nothing to anyone, right? Like you telling a random person who doesn't know much about the golf swing that you're getting rid of his inside takeaway. The guy has no idea if that's beneficial or not. He doesn't really understand it, right? So it got to a point where, you know, the information that I post on the internet is a lot more of saying, there's a reason why I do this. Like I'm changing this to say, this is going to get better because this is his problem, because this and that. And
there's a philosophy you
stand
by.
there's certainly a philosophy I stand by. And I think that there's a lot of science involved, and it's hard to debate my information because it's not opinion based. Right, it's not me saying this guy should do this, but there's no kind of reasoning behind it. There's always a reason why I do things. So it's hard to argue with math and science because it's factual, you know?
Yeah, so I would agree with that. So from our experience on our platform, it is the coaches who have, and this takes courage, there's absolutely no doubt about it, but it's the coaches who have a really, really clear view of their, and I use the word model loosely, but you know, their model, their method, their teachings. You need to be able to articulate those things, and you need to have the courage to be able to get out in front of a camera and explain those really clearly with confidence, which you obviously do, brother, right? You need to be able to do that. And if you do that, I guarantee you, you will get busy. Like it is just very, very obvious from our platform that it's the coaches who articulate things really clearly. If you put just, I mean, it's all great to watch. Like there's some cool things from maybe a round of golf that you play and stuff like that. And if it's related to course management, that's okay. But it really is the coaches that just have a really clear technical model and understanding of the way they go that are really busy on our platform, because you need to give that student the reason. You need to almost give the student the understanding of what the online lesson is going to look like even before they've got it from you. So I think one of the biggest mistakes from that we see on the platform is that what a coach might do is on their social media, they'll say, now available for online lessons. So that for a student, what it means is not much really. It's like, well, what does that online lesson look like? What information am I going to get from that? But I would say with you is that because people are so in tune and understand exactly how you teach, what you teach, they know almost before they've even inquired what they're going to get back. So I think that that's really, really important for the coaches that are out there. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we kind of had this conversation when we recorded that podcast the other day. But like,
yep.
a lot of the people that come and see me almost already have an understanding or an expectation of what I'm going to tell them beforehand. And
yep.
a lot of times it's either just a confirmation about it because they want someone to tell them what it is because there's a huge fear involved with working on your game and not really knowing if you're working on the right things. Yep. So a lot of them just kind of want that confirmation. And I think a lot of times also it's, I'm so consistent in the way I teach everything, obviously, that my preferences haven't really moved over the last 8 years. I maybe articulate them differently, but my preferences are still very much my preferences.
Yep.
I think that because my message has been consistent, it makes people want to come and see me. At the same time, I think like when you're talking about like a random coach just posts that they are offering online lessons, to me, the first thing I think about from that is this coach must not be that busy.
Right.
Like it might be negative to say that, but like, if somebody's just out there just throwing out a message saying like, hey, I'm now available for online lessons, it's like, okay, but why are you available now and you weren't before? Or, why aren't you relaying that maybe differently where it doesn't come across like as if you just have free time and you're trying to fill it up, because that's obviously not a great way to go about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if my brother has an opinion on that. Obviously, he's been dealing with that a lot too.
I think your client's perception online of your business is important. Like you said, if you say now available for lessons, it's kind of like what Shauheen said, like, why weren't you available before? What is that? You should always be available for lessons. Your golfers and your students are going to assume you're always reachable, whether it's in the middle of the day or the middle of the night, especially because it's digital. And then kind of to what you said before, if your content on your page doesn't have Shauheen's information on his page is clear that he stands in a very specific spot on the map when it comes to philosophy of his golf swing. So you know what you're getting before you message him. And if you like what he's giving you in terms of that information, you'll go after it, right? So if you're one day here and then one day you're there and then one day, if you're not consistent with the information you're delivering, and then you might not realize, but contradict yourself in the information you relay, people won't come to you because you're not clear.
I have something I want to follow up actually to something you mentioned earlier about the talking on camera. I mean, I know we can talk about this for hours, but just my point of view is, the information you're going to deliver to someone when you're speaking and posting your information online is obviously very important. It needs to have substance to it. But at the same time, the way in which you communicate that information, I think, is even more important than anything else. And I used to work in a liquor commission. I used to sell wine for a living before I became a golf coach, like back in my 10 years ago. One of the things that I noticed over like 5 years of working at this place was that if somebody comes and asks you about a bottle of wine, right? So like they're going to say, what do you think about this bottle of wine? They can tell within the first 3 seconds, if I have any sort of doubt in my voice, that they're going to pick up on that. And the odds of them buying that wine is pretty much 0% at that point. And so like the way in which you're going to communicate, if your voice doesn't come out with that confidence and it doesn't come out with like, I am 100% sure of this. You don't even always have to be sure of it, but there is certainly a way in which I've noticed people talk when they're communicating information online that, I mean, it's very clear, I'm sure to all of you guys, and I'm confident about my stuff, that like I come across as somebody who is very sure of himself when he talks about his information on the internet, because I am, right? I've obviously done my studying and everything like that, but at the same time, I'm sure there have been things in the past that I maybe wasn't 100% sure on, and people can pick up on that right away. And so if you're uncomfortable talking about stuff on camera, even if your information is good, people might not buy into it because of the way you're relaying that message, right? And a lot of times you see that with these like junior coaches who are starting out and they're talking and it's like, your voice has got to get a little bit better, or you got to say this with a little more enthusiasm, or, the way in which you're communicating that information has to change. And you can be the smartest coach in the world, but if people can't pick up on that, they're not going to buy into it. So, there's no harm in practicing in front of a camera or in front of a mirror when you talk. It sounds so ridiculous and cliche, but I did that all the time. He can probably show you a million bloopers of me on camera, and I sound horrible, like in all the years of me starting, because I was not very confident when I used to talk on camera. And
I'm feeling it now with the podcast. It's the same thing. We record our podcasts, and at first it's hard to hear your own voice, and then when you're actually speaking, you make yourself sound enthusiastic, and it's really that enthusiasm that's going to sell your message.
think,
mean, you should see the way his first episode of his podcast was so like shy and reserved when he was talking that like I can pick up on that in 2 seconds and I already lost interest in what he was saying. So you can only imagine somebody who doesn't know you comes to your page and sees that you're talking very kind of quiet and very reserved and your mannerisms are very kind of like shut down. Like people are going to see that in 2 seconds, they're gone. They're going to swipe to someone else. So like, I mean, I can go about this for hours, but you know, practice in front of a camera. It sounds ridiculous, but it's so true.
It is absolutely fundamental. Like getting back to what I said at the very start of the webinar, where, you know, going forward, you need to be able to have this presence out there because students are going to be able to learn from anyone. So it has to be something that coaches start to do. Like whether you, as you say, get in front of a mirror or, you know, start recording yourself, but not posting it and just getting used to, you know, articulating your message and getting more and more comfortable. Because what we don't want to do either, like Shauheen, you do have like 8 years of experience behind you as well. Like you have now, your confidence is built like this, you know, and so you did start somewhere as well. So let's get to, if someone's standing out, is out there now and just wondering, okay, how can I even start this brand and what should I do? Would you suggest that someone specializes in something? Because I think we didn't really, and we haven't talked about this, but you are a specialist, really, aren't you? Like I don't think I've ever seen you do a putting thing, or I don't, you know, like, or even really that much bunker play or short game. It's like, this is the structure of the golf swing that I like to create and build a repeatable motion. And that's all I'm focused on. Would you suggest people do that?
Yes, because 90% of my lessons that I do both in person and online are for the full swing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the reality of it. If you go to my social media channel, you'll see sprinkles of short game stuff here and there, but more often than not, if anything, it's with my tour players where I'm kind of just cleaning up small details. But I very rarely give short game lessons. If anything, like I said, it's maybe 5 or 10%. And I very rarely give putting lessons. In fact, I actually have a putting guy that I deal with for my tour players that I send all my tour players to because me and him have a really good rapport and I trust him with putting. So, you know, if your information is too much all over the place and you're not really focusing on one specific part of the game, it's really hard for a guy to want to come and see you because you're not talking enough about it. So I think that it kind of comes back to this consistency, right? Like everything I do is about the full swing because that's very clearly where I specialize in. And so I'm a ball striking guy. I love the game of golf with the full swing. I love ball striking. I love playing around with that. But, you know, I actually don't find short game coaching that exciting, to be honest. And it's totally fine to feel that way about a part of the game because everyone's going to have an opinion about that. So you don't necessarily have to specialize in or like to cover every single part of the game. Be a specialist somewhere. I'm totally on board with that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of success on our platform from that. I mean, if you look at Marcus Potter, who, you know, have you had on the podcast yet? I don't know, but Marcus has obviously been incredibly successful on our platform. He's taught, you know, over 800 students or something like that in the last 18 months. And all he does is putting. Like that's all he focuses on. And I think especially if you're trying to get past this intimidation factor of getting in front of the camera and talking about something with authority, just go with what you know, nail that. And if that blossoms into an entire business on its own, probably just stick with that one thing. But what I want to do is move on to, because I know that the hard thing for all of us out there, like we're all intimidated, like no matter how, you know, confident you are, standing in front of people, putting your message out there, because talking about the golf swing and mechanics and anything, it's so emotive for, you know, we are ridiculously passionate about how we teach the game. So you would have, you know, had trolls, you would have had people come at you. Like, how do you deal with that? And how, through what lens do you look at criticism and people coming at you, and how can coaches that are wanting to get out there mitigate that risk or stop worrying about it?
I'll tell you what, to this day, I get a lot of trolls on my page all the time. Negativity left and right. People will comment even if they don't know anything about the golf swing. They'll just say something stupid. You know, we get DMs here and there with people disagreeing with us, and that's totally fine. I would say that it used to bother me emotionally a lot more when I started than I did now. I think him coming into it kind of settled me down a little bit, and we just laugh about it now more than anything. Yeah. You know, we're at the point where we're very clearly successful. We're very clearly busy. What does it matter what one person's opinion says about something that I'm teaching? I mean, it means nothing now. But I used to get bothered by it a lot. Now, I mean, at the end of the day, I think there needs to come an understanding with every coach who's putting their stuff on the internet that you are making your stuff open to criticism. I mean, when you are talking publicly about something, you are giving people the right to be able to debate with you and to be able to give an opinion on it, whether their opinion agrees with you or not, right? And you're going to have both. You're going to have people that are going to love your shit. You're going to have people that are going to hate it. I think that's just the reality of anybody anywhere. You know, not everybody likes every actress or every athlete or any golf coach. So if you are nervous to post your stuff on the internet, what I would tell every single coach who's starting out posting their kind of content online or their beliefs or whatever, if there's one thing I would tell them, it's start by talking about the things that you know are factual and that you have confidence in. Because people are still going to debate with you even when you're right, okay? And you're going to gain confidence in being able to answer back to this person with data, with things to prove scientifically, and that will build your confidence up. If you start by talking about things that already is up for debate in the golf industry, right? About rate, if you start talking like rate of closure is something that is massively debated in golf. Is flippy considered a higher rate of closure? Does that make that more timing based, less timing based? I mean, that's always going to be up for debate. There's guys with PhDs who are always arguing about it. That's not something that you want to be talking about right away, because you are opening that up to a can of worms of shit that you might not be able to answer to. Absolutely. So start by talking about things that you are very clearly confident in. You know, everybody these days, at least, like, you know, with the amount of information that's on the internet, everyone knows about grip and wrist angles and things like that. That is such basic information now. Start by talking about that stuff. It's going to generate an interest, and it's very clearly factual. So you're going to be able to gain confidence from that. Start small, start with the things you know, and then over time, you'll be able to build that up, you know, with things that maybe you'll learn. And at the end of the day, if somebody debates with you and maybe you're not 100% correct with your information, you're still learning. So you're still winning. It's a win-win situation. You either learn or you teach someone else something. Where's the harm in that?
No, I think that's great. And I think that was something that you touched upon when we spoke the other day, is that it's a win-win. Like, putting stuff out there it's a funny combination of the type of personality you need to be able to do it. You need to have like a little bit of an ego and be confident with what you're doing, but you also need to be able to take criticism or take feedback and learn from that. But as you say, if you're willing to do that, it's a win-win, because you're going to learn when people come at you, and you can debate them. But if the content really resonates and you get really good at explaining it, then you're going to get more followers, more students, more online lessons, all of those things. So putting yourself out there, really, it really is only a win-win. So what I want to do now, though, is just really talk about some really simple hacks that people can use. Brandon, I think this is where you can come in and we can have a chat. Just some really simple things when you're filming content, the two of you do, just to make it sound a bit better, look a bit better. Like, what should the average person or golf coach be doing?
Before I jump into that, I just want to let everybody know you can ask all the questions you like. We're going to do a Q&A at the end, just in case you were wondering why we're not answering your questions, because I see a few of them coming in.
Yeah, so that's a good point, actually. So yeah, we'll save 15 minutes at the end, and
I don't want people to get frustrated.
Yes, absolutely. We are going to answer these questions. So so ask away.
I think at the end of the day, the content you put on your page, as much as the information is important, the production quality is equally as important. If you go to someone's page and the light is dim and the sound quality is poor and they're not properly framed, it's not an enjoyable experience to get the information, even if the information is golden and it's there. So, I mean, basic things you could do. One, if you're filming with your phone, get a tripod for your phone. They're cheap. They're on Amazon. It'll give you a consistent place to put your phone so that there's always, you know, you can frame yourself properly. The second thing I would say is get yourself a decent light. They're not expensive on Amazon. Again, Amazon pretty much has everything. It's just the smallest things that you can do to give yourself that production quality. Get AirPods and use those to record your sound with. That way that the microphone is near you. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on an expensive microphone. And then the last thing I would say is use the same app that we use, which is called Filmic Pro. And what that app lets you do is pretty much select any camera on your phone, select any audio source on your phone. So if you do have AirPods, you can select the AirPods microphone. You can select the 4K camera on your iPhone. Yeah. You're pretty much utilizing your phone to the max. And right there is pretty much as high as a quality as you can possibly get from Instagram. And it costs you almost nothing.
I reckon that is one of the best hacks that's out there at the moment, because everyone's always worried about sound quality. So whether it's, the wind or just, sounding right indoors, outdoors, whatever it is, if you can get yourself a set of AirPods and what was the name of the app that you use? I use a slightly different one, but
It's called Filmic Pro. So Filmic Pro.
Film
You
Mic.
can write it in the chat if you want. It's
I'll write it in the chat to everybody.
Yeah, that'd be great. So what that quite literally does, it sounds like you've got, you know, industry quality microphone on your lapel without actually doing it. And then obviously you can use it for your AirPods for everything. They're just an absolute game changer. So they're the best hacks I could think of. One of the questions here we might just address really quickly is about indoor and outdoor. So from a filming perspective, would you agree that indoor is better than outdoors? What do you like to do?
Okay, so I definitely have a strong opinion on this. I would say indoors is better when you're dealing with explaining stuff. And it might surprise people to know this, but I am not very comfortable filming outdoors.
Right.
And I've been on camera for 8 years posting content on the internet. I still find it uncomfortable when I'm talking about the golf swing and people are in the distance looking at me. It always bothers me. He gets pissed off because we can't get through a clip because I'm always worried about everyone looking at me.
Well, this is an interesting topic because I have a different opinion, but I'll let you.
So, yeah. So for me personally, like, it's one thing to film in front of a large audience if they're expecting and they're looking at you for what your work is. It's another to have strangers in the distance kind of eye you down. And I know that a lot of people are going to be out there who probably feel the same way, where it's uncomfortable. So I personally find it a lot easier to film in our studio, where it's kind of an enclosed environment where it's just me and him. We can control the lighting and everything properly. The sound quality is going to be good because you're going to guarantee that there's no wind in the background, which I think is a huge component to making sure that the content is going to come out pretty clear. And for me, it's just more comfortable. So I don't know what his opinion on it is, but that's how I feel as a coach.
Yeah,
I would say similar to what Shauheen said, indoor is definitely better for filming consistent large groups of information. Like we do our video series on Skillest, it was all filmed indoors because it allows us to film whenever we want, right? We're indoors, we have our simulator, it's a controlled environment, we can control the lighting, we can control the weather. There's no one around to bother us. Personally, I think when you do film outdoors on a nice day, it gives something to the video. Like you're on a golf course, it's just nicer to look at. So if you're looking for something that's eye-catching for your viewers, I would say film outdoors. If you're looking for an environment that you can control, I would say film indoors. So you definitely have to play that balance of what are you trying to achieve. If you're trying to film a short clip, outdoors is probably fine because it won't take long to film. You can explain something quickly or demonstrate something with a student and then edit it. But if you're doing a long video series that you need to be outside for a few hours, it could start raining, people could start bothering you, the range could start getting full, your camera might die. So there's so many variables that can go wrong on you there.
Yeah, I want to say one thing here. There's one thing that I think strongly needs to change, in my opinion, with posting information on the internet. And this might be just slightly off topic, but it's something that I really don't like seeing in videos that I see on the internet all the time. And it's when people take these full swings at the end of their instructional content. I think is the most useless thing, to be honest, on the planet. And I'll tell you why. You're talking about a specific topic, right? So let's say you're talking about wrist angles, or you're talking about the way the arm moves, or you're talking about the way the body's turning, or whatever. The person is coming to your page and trying to learn something new, right? This is probably going to be a topic that they probably haven't seen before. They're not necessarily already very informed about to begin with. They're looking through their phone in 99% of the cases on a tiny screen, right? And you're explaining all this information, which is really good. You doing that full swing at the end of the video, they're not going to be able to pick up with their eyes what you are doing differently. They're not going to be able to tell where the wrist angle is in space or what the club is doing. They don't even see the ball flight in 99.9% of the time. They don't even be able to tell if it's a good shot or not. I just don't understand where the advantage is in posting that clip, because there's nothing to gain from it. The student is not learning anything from seeing you take a full swing at the end of the video, right? If you're doing like a slow rehearsal of something and you hit a soft shot, that's one thing. But if you're just like, hey, this is my wrist angles, I want to do this, and then at the end of the video, you just set up to the ball and you rip a shot, like, what are they learning from that full swing shot? If you actually look at my instructional content, I don't think I ever take a swing in any video I've ever posted on the internet ever, and I've never once had a complaint about it, so I don't see why people need to be doing it. I just have a strong opinion about that because I don't feel like they're gaining anything from that swing. I don't see what's the point of having it in the video. That's
what we love about your strong opinions. That's why he's so successful. Keep bringing them. We love it. So that's cool. So we've got some cool questions coming in here, and we might try and integrate them in, but we'll also answer them at the end. What I want to move on to is something really interesting, and people are generally, I think, quite scared of it, which is paid advertising. Okay, so in your social. Now, I think that a lot of people look at it like it's a cheat or something like that. But I think if you don't have some sort of paid advertising strategy, you're just missing out and losing out to everyone else in the industry. How do you look at your paid advertising strategy? We've got one. Our coaches have got one. How do you look at your paid advertising strategy?
I'll let him answer that for us.
Before we talk about what our strategy is, I do want to say that advertising in general, when it comes to this business, there are pros and there are cons. So you definitely need to understand what you're getting out of your advertising strategy. If you're looking to just go and get students from your advertising, you might be spending a lot of money. So for example, what I mean by that is that when we do our content calendar, we schedule pretty much all our posts throughout the week. We'll decide, okay, what we're going to post, in what order it's going to come out in. And then based on the performance of those individual posts, we'll find the best one that's had the most reaction, the best engagement with our already existing community. And then we'll promote that post. Not necessarily because we want to go and get more online students, but to maybe go and expose this post that we know has already done well to other people who haven't discovered Shauheen, that maybe are interested in golf, are interested in online coaching, or just instruction in general. People who follow on Facebook, golf.com, who follow Golf Digest. These are all people who are reading golf articles and golf information because they want to learn more about the swing, right? So we'll target these people and we'll spend maybe a few $100s a month per post. And then how many posts you boost is really, I don't want to say boost, but how many posts you promote is really up to you. But you do need to understand that there's a little bit of a rabbit hole, because the more you spend, the more people will click on it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a huge return on investment. All these people might just come to your page and see your posts and then leave or follow, but that doesn't really convert to an online lesson. What will convert people to an online lesson is how well you communicate your information. So at the end of the day, the content in your post is more important than the actual promotion itself. Like, the promotion is just a vehicle to bring that content to new people, but it doesn't mean that it'll do well if you spend $1 million.
So there's a couple of points there that are really, really important. I think that the spend, like when you say $300 or $400 a month, that doesn't sound like much to me. You know, like, I think people assume that, oh my God, if I'm paying for, paid advertising, it's going to cost a lot. I'm not going to get, any return on investment. It's not true at all. Like, you don't have to spend much to really reach a much broader audience. So that would be the first point. The second point, sorry. Yep.
No, I just wanted to add that on my experience with golf content in general, I find Instagram does the best. I don't find Facebook in general. So people who aren't already following us on Facebook, the way that you target them is based on their interests. So you can target people on Instagram and on Facebook based on what their interests are and whether or not they follow you already or not. And so we obviously go after people who aren't following us, because those who are would be pointless to advertise to. And then based on their interests. And I find on Facebook, people react less. There's just so much happening on Facebook now, and people just throw so much money out there on ads that people are kind of numb to what they're seeing. On Instagram, a bit less, I think, because their advertising platform was released later in their existence as a platform, kind of helps, because now people are getting ads and they're not really super fed up of them yet, whereas they really are on Facebook.
So that sort of gets to my next point, is that you never boost a post. So, it says boost a post underneath an Instagram a post. Don't boost it. Go into your ads manager in Facebook and make sure you tailor things in there, because it can be so much more specific. The boosting, it's pretty much throwing money down the toilet. Go into your ads manager and stack interests, so that when you go after someone, you can say, okay, I want someone who loves Tiger Woods and golf.com.
Well, that's exactly what we do.
And these things,
That's exactly what we do. I'll find a post that does well. If its engagement and its reaction is high, so how many people, if it reached more people than we expected, I'll look at it. And then if the engagement is high based on, even if it's a post that was highly debatable, people reacting to that is good, because it'll just get someone and polarize them for or against it, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be content. It just has to have something that's engaging. So once I see that it has reached a lot of people organically, and that there was a lot of engagement organically compared to for our standards of a regular post, then I'll start stacking interest. I'll say, let's promote this post. Let's look at the kind of people who have looked at it. So the demographics, age, gender, location. and then I'll pick those places again because I know it'll do well. Again, I'll just promote it where it does well already. So I know it does well here. I know it does well with these people. I know that it's an engaging post. All this is great. Let me stack some new interests. People who like you said, Tiger Woods, PGA Tour, Golf Digest, golf.com, whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then I'll promote it, and I'll only spend, like I said, $300-400 a month maybe, and it kills.
That I know, I just can't explain or impart the importance of this enough. Like, I just think that people, as you keep saying, Brandon, you've got to think about it as a business and growth and awareness and all these things. And if you don't have some sort of strategy, at the very least, there's a couple of guys on Skillest that have got really good, subtle strategies. It's not like in your face or anything like that. It's just good little, subtle strategies. They spend a couple of $100, they test things out, they see what happens, and consequently, they're busy. They're really, really busy. So I think it's, you've got to start giving, put energy in and you'll get energy back, sort of thing. So
there's two more things I do want to say there, just to answer one question related to this, because we're talking about it now. Yeah. You can pick where it shows up in the feed in Ads Manager on Facebook. So on Facebook Ads Manager, because Instagram is owned by Facebook, you can control all the advertising there. Exactly. And you can choose whether it shows up in a Facebook feed, whether it's called placements. So you can choose whether it shows up in a Facebook feed, whether it shows up in an Instagram feed, a post. And then the second thing I wanted to say is the more you make your post, so don't create content to then be promoted. Because if it does feel like a promotion already from the beginning, it won't do well.
That's a really good point.
Like I said, we look after what already does well and then promote it. So if you do something with titles in it and effects in it, because you think it'll look nice as an ad and it'll look like a really professional looking ad, it won't do well because it seems like an ad. The idea is it not to seem like an ad and to get people to come click on it.
Awesome point. That is a really good point. And it's something we've absolutely seen from our end is that, as you said, go in, watch your analytics, pick the ones that are doing well because you know that people are already engaged in it. Sometimes you could spend thousands of dollars on something that looks incredible and get something professionally done and it's just not engaging at all. So it's a case of see what's working already, and then test stuff. Like you can do stuff. You can literally spend $25 and see if it's engaging at all and how many people it reaches and how much, click through you get from that. And then if it doesn't work, just move on, sort of thing. So that all, I think one of the questions is, where do you find that on Instagram as opposed to Facebook? It's all in Facebook. So as you said, it is, they're joined together, so on their own. So Facebook owns Instagram. It's all done from Facebook. So check that out. Okay, so this is moving along pretty quickly, right? So we've got to, what I want to now move on to is your online process from the moment you get an inquiry, sort of thing. So this is what the boys, for all you guys out there and gals, are amazing at. They literally have an entire onboarding process. So that as soon as someone inquires, whether it's through their website or through Instagram as a DM, it automatically goes through to Brandon, and then they have an email chain that lets you know exactly what they expect, exactly what you can expect. So do you want to just run us through that, Brandon, exactly what that process looks like? And just even quickly, before you start, the reason I think they've got such a huge conversion rate is because of this process. Because as soon as a student goes into it, they're like, oh my God, these guys are serious. Like this is going to be an amazing experience. And straight away anticipation begins because these guys have got such a amazingly strong onboarding process.
I was kind of going to say that before I explained exactly what our onboarding process is that it's kind of a misconception to say that when someone messages you, especially as a coach, you're an individual, but you are running a business. So when you answer back to this potential student as an individual, it might seem like a courteous, nice way to communicate with somebody, but there's not that there's a lack of professionalism, but there's a lack of that sense of, oh, this is big, like you kind of mentioned. So when someone does, first of all our call to actions on all our pages, on our Instagram, on our Twitter, our social media, everywhere, our website, everything gets funneled to me before it goes to Shauheen, because my job is to screen all these people and to inform them of exactly what's going to happen. So it comes to me, whether it be, like you said, by DM or by email, and then I'll respond back with a preset written message that explains exactly what the prices are for online lessons, exactly what's included in those online lesson packages. So whether it's an individual lesson or a monthly subscription, exactly what the future after that first lesson, what to expect after that first lesson. So if you're taking an individual lesson, what you should be doing afterwards. If you're taking a monthly subscription, how it really breaks down after the first lesson. and then what we need from the student, because at the end of the day, we do need a certain level of quality when it comes to their videos that they send us. So we have a little photo that I designed that shows the proper camera angles and why they're good, and then bad camera angles and why they're bad. And then I send all this in one concise email or a DM to the student, with at the end explaining how long our turnaround time will be, so how long to expect a response back. And obviously, when someone writes a message to me, if it says, hey, I was just curious, do you guys do online lessons? I won't just copy paste the message. I do cater it a little bit to make it seem like it is a person speaking to them, but there is some level of professionalism in the message that's being sent. And then once they do respond, they'll say, okay, great. How do I sign up? And I'll send them over to a Skillest link, and then they'll sign up, and that's when Shauheen kind of takes over.
Yeah, which is super cool. So imagine, I want all of the coaches out there to think about that process as opposed to someone just whacking on their Instagram account available for online lessons sort of thing. So, constantly thinking about the marketing, putting content out there that's really, really tailored, being really specific about your message, having this really strong onboarding process like that. That's how you turn this. That's how you end up with a manager for your online lessons, right?
That's what I was going to kind of say, is that Shauheen did things so well at the beginning, producing quality content, producing content that people wanted to see. He grew so fast that he wasn't able to juggle, all the message inquiries every day, film all the online lessons, deal with, at the end of the day, this is a business. There's taxes involved. There's we have a studio that we run. It's a lot for one person to handle. So that's exactly why I joined. And then the second thing I want to say is, as soon as you start treating your coaching as a business, is when the business will start being rewarding for you. Like if you treat it as an individual career and today I don't want to do that, and I don't feel like answering this person right away, you're the only one losing out. You're not going to get to the level you want to be at. You have to treat it like a business, a 9 to 5. You wake up, you answer all your students as if you were working at a job. And at the end of the day, it'll reward you, because these students will start coming to you because they see that you're taking it seriously, and they'll take you seriously.
So if we then move back to Shauheen and we talk about what you provide in your online lessons. So obviously they've gone through Brandon, they've got through the process. They're excited to send their footage to you. You send them the deep link to your Skillest profile. They hit that button, it funnels them through to their profile within Skillest. They're uploading video footage. It comes to Shauheen. What does that first lesson, because obviously we've got all the tools integrated in the app. We've got the analysis tool. You can attach pre-recorded drills, create all the movies, and then film yourself. Like I think in the past, maybe Shauheen, people think an online lesson is like just a little tip or something like that, but yours don't look like that at all, do they? What does your first online lesson look like?
Well, to start off with a little bit of a joke, but it's not really a joke. I would say that half the people who send in videos will still send you a terrible camera angle, and we still have to wait and get a better one.
I was going to make a second joke and say I'm still involved in this process. Like I still have to screen the video they sent in and then make sure that it's good, and then Shauheen kind of takes over.
Right.
Relax there. A lot of the camera angles are very inconsistent. I'm a real hard ass about that, to be honest. If I expect a certain camera angle from people very specifically because of the fact that I got accustomed to analyzing the golf swing a certain way. So when I'm in the middle of a real lesson in person, I stand in a specific area when I'm looking for things. I want the camera angle to be similar to that angle in which I would stand in real life. So my angles aren't the same as some other people, which is totally fine. I think there's an importance of not necessarily always getting everybody having the same angle filmed. It's everybody who's sending you a lesson, making sure that all those camera angles are similar every time. So like, I would want all my students to have the same angle for me. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to have your students the same way like my angle.
Exactly.
It's just, there's an importance in the consistency of the angle you're looking at. So I can have a golfer send me 3 videos. If the camera angles are different, their shaft might look like it's in 3 different places. You might start giving them bad information because of the camera angle. And it's very important that your information is going to be accurate when you're doing this.
Yeah.
So I get people to resend in videos all the time because I'm a hard ass with that, to be honest.
Yep.
Now, in terms of the actual lesson itself, I do not do quick tips at all. My videos are not 2 minutes long. And I never, ever send pre-filmed videos to a student that I filmed for someone else. I think that a lot of times you can get caught in the habit of, oh, I filmed this drill last time and I have like a 30-second clip of the drill. I'm just going to send the drill to the person. not good enough, in my opinion. Personalize it as much as you can. Take the extra few minutes. A lesson does not need to take 45 minutes. It just needs to be very clear-cut and personalized. I think that there is a huge advantage into sending a lesson that is personalized for somebody because they know that you're taking it seriously for them and it's not just some pre-recorded BS that you filmed 5 years ago for someone else.
Yeah.
So my videos, typically my online lessons, are 10 minutes of me on a voiceover. So I'll talk, their videos on camera, I'm drawing lines, they hear my voice as I'm doing it. And it usually is about 10 minutes. It can go anywhere up to 15 minutes, or if it's not super, super long, it might be like 7-8 minutes if it's pretty clear what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then I follow that up with a repeat on camera of me saying essentially the exact same things I said on the voiceover. You know, I think it's very important for you to understand as a coach that there are going to be auditory learners and there are going to be visual learners, and you cannot just film the voiceover explaining their stuff and then just film a drill for them because they might not have completely got the message through the auditory portion. So I will spend the first 5 minutes of the video of me on camera re-explaining everything I just said in the voiceover, but visually, in case the person is not the same type of learner like someone else.
There's nothing like being able to, if they can watch you explaining, you know, a side-by-side swing with lines on it, and that is so invaluable for so many people. But then you standing up and actually demonstrating, okay, this is the way your shoulder should be working, and this is like that. Those two things combined, if you're not doing both of those, I mean, yeah, you're missing out.
I mean, at the end of the day, you don't know what kind of person they are. I mean, everybody learns very differently. Everything is too subjective. So you can't make the assumptions that everyone's going to learn the exact same way in this kind of cookie cutter model, because it doesn't work. Yeah. So if you can make it more personalized and you can cover every single base, you're going to absolutely be sure that they will have gotten the message of what you're trying to relate to them. So yeah, the first 5 minutes on camera is of me explaining the exact same things. And then I'll end that with me going over the drill and basically creating a plan for them, but I'll explain it on the video of how to go about it for the next 5 or 10 minutes. And it's usually about 10 minutes and 10 minutes, so about 20 minutes total.
I think absolutely, you need to look at it like a proper lesson. Like this is a real lesson. Like not only what we're saying is unbelievable results online, and it's not only you know, something that could replace the live experience, but in certain situations, this is better learning environment, isn't it? How, you know, people can upload things as often as they want, or pretty much as often as they want or as they need to. They learn from the best coach and the coach that they want to. So this is serious. Like this is a better way to learn. So when the coach is giving that lesson, they need to think about it like that sort of thing. And I know that something that was really valuable for one of our coaches, Jay Kelly, right? So Jay is over in London. He's now getting really quite busy on the platform, which is absolutely fantastic. But Jay, and I would almost recommend this, Jay started sending his swing. He subscribed to Steve Giuliano, right? So he's a coach, a very busy coach over in London, teaches tour players all over Europe. But he started sending his swing to Steve Giuliano because he wanted to learn, how do I give proper online lessons? And now that he's watched Steve's process, which would be as thorough as yours, I would imagine, he's sitting there and he's like, I get this, I understand this. So I would almost suggest doing that to any coach that's out there. You might actually want to jump on our app and start like sending your swing to a couple of these coaches. And not only do you start to learn about your own golf swing, but you will actually learn how deep this process can be.
I would agree with that. Actually, to be honest, I would say that 10% of the people I coach online are other coaches in other areas. Yeah. And oftentimes they kind of inquire for exactly that reason. You know, they want to get better with their game, but that's really like the secondary part of it. Really, the main goal for them is to learn how I coach, what I'm saying, where my preferences are. And there's a lot to learn from another. I mean, it's like shadowing another coach. It's no different, really. You're setting your information out there for them to be able to learn what you want to tell them.
So good. It's so good. Okay, so that's awesome. That's really, really cool stuff. So we've got about 10 minutes, maybe a little bit less left. What we'll do is go into a couple of these questions. And one of them is really, really important, which is pricing. So I get this question all the time from coaches when they come on board. They're like, how do I price things? Now, you are a really great example of how pricing can evolve, I would say. So what did you start at? I think you've almost been on the platform 3 years or something like that. Like, what did you start at and where have you got to, and how do you think about your pricing?
So I started in August of 2017, July of 2017, something like that. It's probably about almost 3 years.
Right.
When I first started my random one-off lessons, so not the monthly program students of mine, I was charging, I think, like $50, and I think the monthly subscribers I was charging like $90,
Yep.
which I think is very fair for when you're first starting out. You don't have a huge business.
Not busy.
You're not super busy, and you're trying to gain clients. You know, $50 for 20 minutes of work is so far ahead of the average income for most people out there that you're still making a lot of money doing that. And it got to a point where every 3 months or 4 months or 6 months, my price evolved because I got so busy that I couldn't take on more students. And at the end of the day, it's a business model. It's supply and demand. So when you max out your supply and the demand is going up, well, your price is going to go up because that's just the reality of it. You can't take on more students. Wouldn't you charge more? Of course you would. So it evolved over time. And then like I said, every 3 or 4 months, we would kind of analyze it, look at it, and then it would evolve slightly more expensive. And now I'm charging $200 per lesson one-off. And $350 for the monthly subscribers, and we have, I don't know, 75, 100, 150 monthly, like it's ridiculous. And a lot of that is, first of all, I prioritize my monthly students, which I think everybody should do. You know, somebody is paying for you to continuously work with you for a month. They're giving you a commitment that they're going to follow up with you. They're on board. They really want to learn. They're going to follow up often. They should be your priority.
Yep.
Right. So the people who randomly send me a video and then I don't see them for a year are not my priority. Right. So we're going to make them better, but we're going to make them better at the response time that I give them. Whereas the monthly people, we're going to try to answer within 24 hours every single time because they are the priority.
Yeah.
So we evolved really with our pricing based on the demand we had. It wasn't like I just came out of nowhere and said, you know, F this, we're going to charge this amount because I value my coaching at this amount. No, I started giving lessons for $50, $30 like everyone else, you know?
And I think that's, it's very easy to sort of look at the end product of what the two of you have created together and just say, okay, I should be starting there sort of thing. But, you know, it's taken forever, or not forever, I shouldn't say that, but it's taken, you know, 3 years for your pricing to get to the point of where it is now sort of thing. So you just need to, I would always say it's easier to go up than it is to go down. You don't want to be going this way with your pricing. You want to be going that way with your pricing. So I think that's another question. Would you, who is that from? Would you, do you do giveaways, and would you offer, like, because you can in Skillest as well, generate free vouchers and things like that. Would you generate some free vouchers, just get some business going and offer those? How do you look at that?
Well, just to continue one more point on your last question, I would say that it's important to understand that Shauheen never artificially increased his pricing based on the fact that he's teaching tour pros.
No.
Which is a really important thing to understand, because it's easy to get your ego boosted when you start working on tour, which is a great thing to have. You're working on tour, you deserve the accolades that come with it.
Yep.
And I don't think it's fair to everyone who you've been teaching and then people who want to take lessons with you to say, well, today I was charging 200. Now I'm teaching Tiger Woods, I'm going to charge you 2,000.
Yeah.
I think it's ridiculous. There is a certain level that you can attain where it's like, no matter how much quality information you give, will that student walk away and say, I just paid $700. Did I get $700 in value out of an hour? Or even from a digital lesson? Did I get it from that digital one-off lesson that I gave? So that's one thing I wanted to say. And sorry, can you just repeat your question? I got so involved in that answer, I forgot what you said.
What was it? I think I've lost.
About giveaways.
The giveaways.
Giveaways. That's right. Yeah. Would you?
Well, we do giveaways online. I think it's an important part of running any business, is like that kind of, you know, a contest model. It helps generate interest on our page. It helps generate new followers, people tagging other friends in a post to maybe win a free voucher or a free lesson. All it does is expose us to other people who might not have seen us already, you know? And at the same time, the person, you think about it, the person tagging his two friends is kind of saying, hey, this guy's a good coach, or else why would he tag his friends? Especially in something like golf, where it could be easily misconstrued as like, well, I don't like this guy. Why the hell would you show me this guy? You know, you're kind of like putting your word down. So I think that's a cool way to generate business. And there is a function in Skillest that allows you to generate vouchers. So even give out to students who aren't exactly sure. You can give them a free lesson if you like.
So
I'll tell you what, every single time we've done a giveaway, we'll give away one lesson or 1 month worth of work or whatever, and we gain 20, 30, 40 lessons from that where people are paying. So
exactly.
there is such a massive gain financially from the giveaway that it almost doesn't make any sense not to do it.
And you can really easily in Skillest, in your coaching profile, generate free vouchers. Like, you know, because we're coaches and we built this platform, we know, we've thought of everything. So really easy to generate codes. You can send them out in DMs. You can email them out to people. So I would absolutely recommend doing that. Now, there's another question here, which probably gives me the opportunity to announce that very excitingly, we are about to launch virtual meetings or live coaching within the app. So at the moment, we have the asynchronous option, which is where you can send video footage and have it analyzed and then done in an asynchronous manner. But we're going to synchronize, and we're going to actually allow coaches to do FaceTime and real-time teaching. So that is, I don't think that's something you offer at the moment, but will be something that you offer going forward, do you think, Shauheen?
Yeah, so right now, the only people that I do actual face-to-face live stuff with is the professionals that I work with.
Right.
That's outside of
that. Yeah, it's outside of Skillest. That's just like through FaceTime and stuff like that. And to be honest, the professionals I work with are probably way needier than the average golfer that I work with. I mean, it sounds so ridiculous, but they message me far more than any person I work with on Skillest,
Yeah.
which I find funny. But yeah, going forward, I will definitely be offering it. I mean, I don't see why not. You have an hour of your time, or you give half an hour of your time to a monthly student of saying, like, you know, even if it's just 5 minutes of, I just want to see you working on the drill, just for a quick confirmation of saying you're working on it the right way, where they don't kind of veer off track because they haven't spoken to you in 3 weeks, I think is hugely important. And it gives them a little more, I guess it gives them a better experience in actually being able to communicate with you in real time. They get more excited to be able to do that. They learn more from it. So there's an advantage to being able to do that for sure.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fantastic. And it's actually going to have the option to have multiple people in the session. So you could potentially, you know, if 2 people have got the same swing fault, they can come together and you can teach them simultaneously. I think, I mean, all of these tools are just getting closer and closer to that point that I talked about, where any student can learn from any coach anytime and have it be really effective. I've been doing a lot of these FaceTime lessons during lockdown, and I just can't get over how effective they are. And I think that there's probably a lot of students out there. And I mean, it's obvious from what we've seen in the explosive growth of Skillest over the past, 3 months, but I think people are becoming more and more aware that this is a great way to learn. Okay, boys, that's an hour. How quickly did that go? There's a few questions here. I would love
to fire some questions if you want.
Well, if you want, we've probably run out of time, but we can answer them personally. If you want to email me at baden@skillest.com, go for it. You can get the boys on their Instagram, or what email should they email to you, boys? At management at...
You just hit Shauheen on Instagram and send a DM, and we'll answer all your questions there. It's honestly, I see all that. He sees all that. There's 2 questions here I can answer right away. And one is, what social media platforms do you focus on? Instagram and Twitter. That's pretty much it. The most effective ones are there. And
completely different demographics too.
Yeah, we haven't used TikTok. To be honest, I just haven't looked at it. So maybe it's beneficial. We just haven't looked at it. Facebook, I find, is dead. So
too many projects going on at the same time. So we haven't been on TikTok yet, but you never know.
I know. Well, it's definitely a younger demographic, and generally golf is slightly older. So, but yeah, you don't want to ever ignore anything like that. No. Boys, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. Love doing it. Let's do a whole bunch more of these. Enjoy your Friday night. What do you got planned tonight? You're going to go out on the town and go crazy, or you just...
I'm going to go home.
Where are we going to go? Everything's closed.
And hang out with my wife and my son. So that's it.
That's true. Okay, boys. Thank you so much for your time, and we will catch up with you very soon.
Bye, everybody.